Welcome everyone to a short little video from Twisted Dice. I'm Darren and today I'm going to be talking about 9th edition 40k terrain rules, or what at least I know of the terrain rules. That's more important. And now, if you like the content we're pushing out at Twisted Dice at the moment, please don't forget to hit the subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out massively, and you'll be helping us out in a massive way in trying to hit our little target of 10,000 subs. Plus, you guys and girls out there are absolutely awesome just by watching this video anyway. Anyway, let's talk about terrain. With this new edition that's coming out, we know there's going to be a few changes at the moment from 8th to 9th. And one of those big changes is going to be the way scenery or terrain is played on the tabletop. Now, with the terrain that I've seen so far is it's now talking on the community webpage about two types of terrain. You've got light terrain and you've got heavy terrain. Now, with the light terrain, it's given a couple examples of ruins, bunkers, and those little shipment containers. And it's got a couple of different things added onto it, like little keywords and that. So one of the things that I've seen upon there, as it talks about cover save, now that's really important, that you still get the +1 cover save as you receive in 8th at the moment. So that doesn't change at all. But what does change, or what I have noticed, that it states now that infantry, swarms and beasts get cover save. That's really important. And it that makes me think that if they've gone to the length of putting those things in brackets, it might be a case of we see other things potentially may not get the cover save. Of course, this is speculation because I don't have the full rules yet. 9th is on its way, and it's just an exciting time to be, because like any edition from when we've gone from 5th to 6th, it was awesome because it was a big change. And we went from 6th to 7th, not much of a change, and then 8th to 9th, there's not going to be a lot changed. We're still going to know the fundamentals of 9th because it's going to be what we're used to at the moment, but it sounds like it's going to make that game more immersive, more quicker, more faster, and it sounds exciting. So when it talks about terrain, now this is really cool because it talks about heavy and light. Now, the light obviously said you get the +1, but what it also talks about is if the terrain piece itself is over 5 inches tall, you can no longer draw line of sight to whatever your opponent's shooting at behind that building, unless it's got more than 18 walls. So what does that mean for us? So that means that if you've got a cool demon print, so this is calling out for all the demon players, this is calling out for Gilliman, little girly man, this is calling out for like Magnus, things like that. This is allowing us to have a piece of a model that's got beautiful wings, a nice bit of scenery, but in the past it's kind of been, you know, like we've got terrain in our club, we've got terrain at our tournament where you can still draw line of sight above so we play ITC, and above the first floor you can still see like Gilliman in some terrain, you can still see Magnus, you can still see some vehicles. What this is now saying on the terrain, what this means for us is if it's over 5 inches tall, this piece of terrain, it means you can no longer draw line of sight. So for instance, we have a library bit of terrain, nice big white building, but you can still draw line of sight. So if you've got a Contemptor, a Victor's War Suit sat behind it, you can still draw line of sight. And in the past, I've taken that as an advantage. I've seen a Victor's War Suit and been able to manage to fire my grot guns at it. You know, the Smasher guns have been able to draw line of sight, and vice versa. I've had, you know, Leviathans pump bucket loads of shots at me because they can just see through the floors. What they're saying now is, if you can't draw more than 1 millimeter thick line between the thing, you can no longer draw that line of sight, and that is absolutely massive. I think that plays a massive great part on there. Now, what it does say though is, as I understand it, that planes still not affected. So planes will still be able to, because they're going to fly over and still going to do their bomb and run. Things like your big vehicles, like your Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, anything that's got more than 18 wounds is still going to be targetable. And that's really important because you can imagine they're going to be real bulky bits of kit, and you would imagine that still to be able to be targeted, and that kind of makes sense. Now, what they do state in there, that if you're infantry, if you are a model that's in the actual train piece itself, you can still be targeted. So it doesn't matter how tall the building is, if you're inside that train, they can still draw line of sight to yourself. So it doesn't matter that where you are in that, you can still be drawing line of sight, and that's quite interesting. That's quite interesting. Of course, you've got to still have line of sight. So if you're in a building where you've got no windows, I can only imagine that you still can't draw line of sight to it. So it's got to be still, you still got to draw like true line of sight on it, and I think that's going to be absolutely massive. So that's going to change the way, or definitely what type of units we are going to see upon the tabletop, and how that one piece of terrain is going to make a massive, great difference in a lot of tournament play. If you're an ITC player, you kind of already experienced that first line blocking terrain, so we're not really going to notice too much on it. But for other type of tournament players that don't play the ITC rule on that, you will. That's going to be something that's going to be more of a benefit. Again, it depends on where you play, of course, but to now have that is quite interesting. The other key cool thing on this was they talk about it's got things next to the actual rune itself. Now, this is why I need to walk back to the actual computer itself and to read through. Now, so for instance, ruins, it's got terrain category, area terrain. It's got scalable, I can't even say it. Scalable terrain, scalable, breachable, light cover, defensible, unobscuring. So the obscuring is going to be of course, going to be the 5 inches. Defensible. This is going to be interesting. So that kind of, to me at the moment, and now this again, this is only what I think. This is not written down in stone, and please don't go mental. This is just what I think. But defensible means that there might be an option of us actually bolstering out these pieces of terrain. So if you have got like a squad of devastators, and they've got their heavy weapons and they're sat up upon the, out through the windows, and you're just pounding the ground as the horde are running towards you, that real cinematic effect. They're going to be starting pushing up rocks up against the windows to stop the return fire. They're going to start taking cover and how to do that. So that kind of sounds to me that there's potentially we've got ways of making that building better. So that's really interesting. I'm really liking the sound of that. Scalable, I'm guessing that means that it's got the ability to, well, I know it's scalable, it's obvious that the infantry and things can now climb up through the buildings, which is really important. And then the breachable, I'm not sure what that means at the moment, or unless that just means that if an enemy's in there, that you can break through. So that's something definitely to look out for and look forward to. Now, another thing they've mentioned is heavy terrain. Now, this is really, really interesting. So the heavy terrain, they talk about heavy terrain shall I say heavy cover. And what it talks about with heavy cover is melee weapons. So if you, let's say for argument's sake, you're a bunch of Chaos Space Marines carrying away for your dear life in a ruin, or no, not sorry, we can't say ruin because we don't know if any types of ruin are going to be getting that ability of light cover. We don't. Sorry. So let's forget light cover. Let's forget ruins. Let's think something bigger. I don't know, maybe we've got some new scenery coming very, very soon, and it's kind of like a little hint towards what we might see. But let's say we've got some other pieces of terrain that's more defendable. It talks about heavy cover, and what heavy cover is I'm guessing you still get all the cover saves as you would normally from light cover, but heavy cover also gives you the benefit of melee attacks. So if you're in combat with a squad of Gene Stealers, if the Gene Stealers make the attack, make the charge, you don't get the cover saves. If the attacks say like second round, I'm guessing you'll get a cover save against them, +1 cover save against melee attacks. So then that kind of started making me think like, what could be heavy cover? And like, as I said, it could be like new terrain features, but it also might mean that forests might have a different type of rule towards them. And you can kind of imagine that if you're fighting in a forest, like a real dense forest, you're going to have all the growth, and if you've got all the things coming to attack you, you've got that ability then to kind of like, you can have all the vines and that coming in and kind of going to slow down some of that, you know, those attacks, or at least dumbing down those attacks. So that's quite interesting that you're now going to have that ability to get that +1 save in cover. And that's going to be really crucial. But what it also means is if a unit, for argument's sake, that you go up against, so Gene Stealer Cult goes in and they attack a unit which has a special rule where they get to attack first. Now that's massive. So if they get to attack first, it means that the unit that's attacking, who's made the charge, they will get that +1 save. So for instance, if you go turn 1, you do 1 lot of combat, and then turn 2, someone spends 2 CP and they interrupt combat, it means that your guys will then get a cover save, +1 cover save. And I think that is going to be, you know, game changing in a way, because not always, but there's going to be occasions where that's going to make a big difference on whether or not your units die. So for instance, if you've got a squad of Space Marines, some Primaris, they've gone in, they've charged a big squad of Space Wolves, or even better still, Slaanesh. So you've got loads and loads of Slaanesh like demons running through the building. They've gone in there, they've struck them, they get to go first, but because you've got that +1 save, that means that Marines all of a sudden have a better chance of actually, you know, saving themselves against that attack. And I think that's going to be absolutely massive. So that's when then close combat then really relies upon that, the extra minuses, and depending on what weapons you take, because then all of a sudden Space Marines in close combat in terrain, heavy cover, is then going to become a 2+ save. And that's going to be crazy in combat, because some close combat armies, like Orcs for instance, they really need to get in there and do that damage. So I think that's going to make a big difference on the combat side. But it also makes you more survivable as well, being that attacking model. Anyway, it'd be interesting to see your thoughts and, you know, your opinions on this. Please drop some comments down below. The last video I posted out about the top 5 orcs, the response has been absolutely fantastic. Wasn't expecting to get that many views on it, so thank you very much to everyone that's taken part on it. Really do appreciate it, negative or positive. You know, that's just the way life is, and it, you know, much appreciated. Anyway, let me put it back out to you guys. Have a little think, see what you think. Have a look upon the community webpage. I'll drop some links down below as well. Take away, see what you think, and drop some comments down. I know we're still early in 9th and there's not a lot of information out there for it, but fun times ahead. And for the next couple of weeks, this is where we get to have that make the conspiracy theories and make things real, and make 1 + 1 makes 10. Do the maths. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you all soon. I'll catch you all soon, very soon. Whatever. Catch you all again.